Hey everybody, happy snow day, and I'm sorry that I have to give you work, but because we've already kind of missed a couple classes due to other unfortunate events, I don't really want you to fall behind, so I'm creating this video and I'm going to post it somewhere and then I'm going to send the link. And if you're watching this right now, it's because you found the link. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to be talking about pronouns, and then we're also going to be talking about the velt. So let's just see what's going on. Okay, so here is my lesson on pronouns. Now I am going to post just this blank, or maybe it won't be blank. I'm going to be posting this document as a PDF later on. So, I mean, you can take notes. Of course, I always suggest that you take notes anyways, just because when you are writing things down, it commits it to memory better than just reading something. So I'm going to turn off the camera part of me, of this recording, and just focus on the actual screen itself. A noun or a pronoun changes form to show the reader how it functions in a sentence. These forms are the subjective, pronoun using the words I, she, he, and they, or the objective pronoun using the words me, him, her, them, and the possessive pronoun using the words my, her, his, their, and its. So when you have compound subjects and objects, and you're not really too sure when to use things like she and I versus her and me, you need to test the sentence to find the correct form. So what you would do is you would separate and create two sentences out of one. So instead of saying this one, the prize went to he or him and I or me, we would say things like, we would test it out. So the prize went to he. No, that doesn't sound right. So what sounds right is the prize went to him. And then same with the other one. Instead of saying the prize went to I, we know that that doesn't sound right. So we would say the prize went to me. Therefore, we can write the sentence as the prize went to him and me. Complements. It was she. So both a subject and a subject complement appear in the same form, the subjective case. So when you have this sentence, the one who cares most is she. If this construction sounds awkward to you, use the more natural order. She is the one who cares most. Okay. Next, on to who versus whom. Again, you can do the same type of test. The choice between who and whom depends on the use of the word. So you have a question. At the beginning of a question, use who for a subject and whom for an object. For example, who wrote the policy? Or whom does it affect? You need to test for the correct form by answering the question with the form of he or she that sounds correct. Then use the same form in the question. So we can ask, who or whom does one ask? And then we create the answer. One asks her. Then we can say, whom does one ask? Okay, remember that whom is the object pronoun, and same with her. That's why we can swap them. Who is the subject pronoun? So we would say who or whom, that's this one here, who or whom broke the glass. And we can swap who for he. He broke the glass. Then we know that this sentence should be who broke the glass, because you can't say him broke the glass, right? Him is the object pronoun. I think I'm gonna start inking. There we go. Okay, so just remember that the subject pronoun uses I, he, or she. Whoops. Whoops. And then plural they. And the object uses me, him, her, and them. So we can add on who to this side and whom to this side. I highly suggest that you write this chart out just so that you can have a visual when you put sentences together. So instead of saying him broke the glass, we say he broke the glass. And instead of saying one asks he, we say, one asks she, we would say one asks her. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then the object pronoun is always used in a prepositional phrase. The object pronoun, which is, this. The object pronoun always gets used in a prepositional phrase. So here we have freezing weather. Freezing weather is always welcomed by us skaters. Us is the pronoun that we see here, but see it says by us. By is a prepositional phrase. Now, if you have any problems remembering what prepositional phrases are, Remember that in Blackboard, under grammar handouts, I have a handout for the main prepositions, okay? So keep that handout in your binder. And then we also have the phrase between you and me. Many people think that it's between you and I because it comes at the beginning of the sentence, but that's not the case. This is a prepositional phrase, which means that you use the object pronoun in here. So between you and me. I never liked that movie. Okay. The next kind of rule is when you have a pronoun as an A positive. An A positive is a word or word group that renames a noun or pronoun. Within an A positive, the form of a pronoun depends on the function of the word the A positive renames. For instance, the class elected two representatives, Samir and me. This is an A positive that is just renaming the two representatives. Okay, so in this case, these representatives were elected, which means that they're receiving the action. Thus, you use the objective case, Samir and me. But if the focus of the names are being used as the subject, you would then put Samir and I were elected. Okay? So then we also have the pronoun after than or as, and sometimes even like. These are used as comparisons. The form of a pronoun indicates what words may have been omitted. A subject pronoun is the subject of the omitted verb. So here we have a sentence. Some critics like glass more than her or she. What you would do is you would add in the missing words to help you decide which is correct. So if you want to say some critics like glass more than she, what you're actually saying is some critics like glass more than she likes glass. Okay? But if you aren't meaning that, you would say some critics like glass more than her. And what this means is that some critics like glass more than they like her. Okay, so now we're getting into pronoun antecedent agreement. This is very, very similar to the subject-verb agreement and the rules for subject-verb agreement, such as, if you can remember, that when you have a compound subject as the subject, that didn't make sense. When you have a compound subject joined by the word and, you join those two subjects together to create a plural subject. Okay? So the same kind of rule applies to the pronoun antecedent agreement. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck is an antecedent? Okay, so here we have a pronoun replaces a noun, which is a person, place, thing, or idea. And an antecedent is a word that is being replaced. So here we have successful students complete their homework. We have the pronoun their, and their is referring to students. So this is the antecedent. And this is the pronoun. quite often when I'm marking and I see a faulty pronoun antecedent agreement, I will do something like this. I'll go pronoun antecedent faulty agreement. And then you should know that this pronoun isn't matching this antecedent. Pronouns must agree in person, number, and gender. Whoops. So, for example, the same example I had up there. Successful students complete their homework. So here we come into some rules. When you have a compound subject using and, join the subjects together to make them plural. Oh well, I'll fix this later. Okay, anyways, let's go back to inking. So Dean and my advisor have offered their help. So there is referring to my advisor and the dean. Their help. Compound subjects using or nor. The pronoun will agree with the closest antecedent. This is the same thing as subject-verb agreement. Okay, so we have tenants or owners. The main thing that we want to look at here is what is being used, and or is being used, which means that we're only going to concern ourselves with this subject. So this is plural. Owners is plural, which means that we are going to say their. Okay. When we have something like neither the tenants nor the owner have made his case, it sounds kind of awkward because tenants is plural, but owner is singular. But we have this nor in the middle, which means that we're not going to worry about this, and all we're concerned about is the owner. The owner is singular. In this case, his is also singular. Okay, but keep this in mind when writing a sentence that has a plural subject and a singular subject. Place the singular subject first. So you would say, neither the owner nor the tenants have made their case. And see, that just sounds so much better. Okay, so the third rule is when indefinite pronouns are usually singular and would take a singular pronoun. Do what is necessary to avoid confusing. I didn't write that very well. Do what is necessary to avoid confusion or sexist language. So here we have, each athlete is entitled to his own locker. The word that we're looking at here is each. Each is an indefinite pronoun. So we can revise this to say all athletes are entitled to their own lockers. Or we can revise it to say each athlete is entitled to a locker. In this case, we're not even putting in a pronoun. Or we can say each athlete is entitled to his or her own locker. Now, when you're doing any kind of test and it doesn't give you this no pronoun option, you would have to choose this one to avoid being sexist, because males and females can be athletes, right? So the thing is, though, is that if you're writing a paragraph and you start off with a singular subject, you're going to have to say his or her throughout the entire paragraph. And that starts to sound really, really wordy. So your best bet is to do this one. Make your subject plural. Okay, the next rule is the same rule with subject and verbs, and that is when you have a team or other collective nouns. Use a singular pronoun when referring to a group. Singular pronoun when referring to a group as a unit. Okay? And then when referring to the individual members of the group, you would use the plural pronoun. For example, the committee voted to disband itself. Singular. Or the old team have gone their separate ways. As in, the members have gone their separate ways. Okay. The next rule is that pronouns should be clear. This has to do with pronoun reference. If a pronoun does not refer clearly to the word it substitutes, readers will have difficulty grasping the pronoun's meaning. For example, Emily Dickinson is sometimes compared with Jane Austen, but she was quite different. She is the pronoun in this case. But what is she referring to, or who is she referring to? Is she referring to Jane Austen? Or is she referring to Emily Dickinson? Okay, so in this case, you replace the pronoun with the appropriate noun. You can say, Emily Dickinson is sometimes compared with Jane Austen, but Dickinson was quite different. Or you can say, to avoid repetition, you can just totally rewrite the sentence. Despite occasional comparison, Emily Dickinson and Jane Austen were quite different. And in this case, you don't even need a pronoun. You also need to make sure that the pronoun is close to the antecedent. So a clause beginning with who, which, or that should generally fall immediately after the word it refers to. So here is a confusing sentence. Jody found a dress in the attic that her aunt had worn. That her aunt had worn makes it sound as though it's actually referring to the attic, but that is not the case. We are actually referring to the dress. So in this case, you would have to put the prepositional phrase at the beginning. In the attic, Jody found a dress that her aunt had worn. Okay, and you need to make sure that your antecedents are specific. So a pronoun should refer to a specific noun or other pronoun. Readers can only guess at the meaning of a pronoun when its antecedent is not stated outright. For example, here is a confusing couple sentences. Lord Selkirk's attempt to establish the Red River Colony was opposed by the fur traders of the Northwest Company and their Métis allies, who attacked the colony. This led Selkirk to fight both on the battlefield and in the courts. What is this referring to? Is this referring to the opposition of the fur traders, or is it referring to the attack by the Métis allies? So to make it clear, you can say, Lord Selkirk's attempt to establish the Red River Colony was opposed by fur traders of the Northwest Company and their Métis allies, who attacked the colony. This opposition led Selkirk to fight both on the battlefield and in the courts. Okay, that's all I have for you for pronoun rules. I will save this document and put it into the grammar handouts. Okay? Stay tuned for the next lesson.